the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd in 2020, many school districts across the nation faced a moment of racial reckoning. A decision needed to be made. Keep the names of Confederate leaders on schools or change them entirely. Well, in Virginia's Shenandoah County, the school board decided to take action, voting 5-1 to change the names of two schools that linked to Stonewall Jackson. You had Robert E. Lee and Turner Ashby, all men who helped to lead the pro-slavery states in the Civil War. But just last month, the school board, they reversed its decision and in another 5-1 vote, ordered the names to be restored. Now, 5 students, along with the Virginia NAACP, are suing the school board, saying the decision creates a discriminatory environment for Black students. And with me tonight is one of the students who is suing. Her name is Brianna. I'm not going to give her last name, but also with me is Caitlin Banner, Brianna's attorney with Washington Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Urban Affairs, along with Reverend Cozy Bailey. He is the NAACP Virginia State Conference president. Let me begin with you, Brianna, and thank you so much for being here. You're a student. You go to the newly renamed Stonewall Jackson High School. Bring me into this moment when you first learned that your school was going back to have that name again. What did that feel like for you?
It just felt like a huge step in the wrong direction. We did all of this, to change the names and to make it feel like a more inclusive environment for every student that wants to come and be a student at, not just Mountain View, but at Shenandoah County Public Schools. And it just felt like we were part of a bigger, political agenda that, shouldn't have any place in the schools.
Mm-hmm. Brianna, it's a pretty extraordinary step to decide to join in any lawsuit, and certainly a moment of history to think about. You are now a part of. You are a student athlete. You wear the school jersey. You're in advanced classes. You're extremely sharp, I understand, as well. What motivated you to take this step?
It really just, I felt like this was my duty to, not just the students I go to school with now, but the students who come after me. It's important to make them feel like they're welcomed in a place that is supposed to help them succeed. And it's just such a big part of, our history that can't be ignored.
Wow, to think about it as a duty. Brianna, thank you so much. And that I want to turn to Caitlin for a moment, because Caitlin, the vote was about a month ago, I understand it, right? And we're showing actually images right now of the school sign. It's already restored to Stonewall Jackson. Tell me, what is behind this? This just changed, by the way, in 2020. It's only now 2024. What was the reason that they were being stated to have it go back now?
So, I can't speculate as to why the school board made the change, but what we can talk about today is what we know is the impact of these names on students at the school, like Bree and like others. The impact is that students are feeling unwelcome in school. They see this as a message that their community doesn't think they belong and they don't want them. And frankly, it carries the same message as when the school was originally built in 1959 as a school for only white students, and named Stonewall Jackson the first time.
We reached out to the school board as well for comment. We have not heard back on this, but but the lawsuit in particular, obviously you found it important to have students who are a part of it and thinking about this. And what are the specific rights? You mentioned the impact. I'm assuming discriminatory impact is part of the theory of the case, but what are the rights being violated, and what is the likelihood of prevailing in a case like this?
Yeah, well, we feel really strong about our right to prevail. We think rightness is on our side here. Our claims are in sort of 2 legal buckets. One of those buckets is what I'll call the anti-discrimination buckets. So they're claims under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, under the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and under the Equal Education Opportunities Act. And these are all core civil rights laws coming out of the civil rights movement that say that states and schools can't discriminate against students. So that's part of our claims. We're also bringing claims under the First Amendment because here in America, of course, we have the right to disagree with the government and the right not to be forced to carry the government's message. But right now, students who are going to Stonewall Jackson High School, they have to identify as Stonewall Jackson rebels in order to have access to their, or excuse me, Stonewall Jackson generals in order to have access to their education, in order to play sports and all of that. And so they have a right to not carry that message that they disagree with and that carries such a hateful message to them and to their classmates.
Let me turn to you, Reverend Bailey, on this, because this actually, there was an earlier push, I understand, to bring these names back, but 2 years ago that failed. What has changed now that this was ripe for the result it has now?
Well, from our perspective, what we think has happened is that the continuation of change in the school board, actually, folks who are interested in serving, and not everybody is, and they finally got to the point where they could get a majority of folks who wanted to push this through and then make this change.
What do you think the message that they're trying to send is?
Well, Laura, I'm not sure what the message that they're trying to send,
what's received?
but I can definitely tell you the message that they're sending. The message that they're sending is that they want to return the Commonwealth of Virginia back to the days of Jim Crow. This is absolutely the types of things that occurred during the Jim Crow era. And what I mean by that is that, for instance, on Monument Street in Richmond, they built monuments to those Civil War generals and who they called heroes, when in reality they were secessionists and traitors. And so, as I heard a good speaker this past weekend, there's a cold wind blowing across the country, and that wind has now come to the Commonwealth of Virginia, specifically to Shenandoah County. And what that wind is carrying with it is the seeds of the past injustices and racial discrimination. But we are here to stop that.
Well, let me turn back to you, Brianna. I'd love to give you the last word on this because your mom grew up in the same school district. And I wonder, what do you want people to know about this community that you were a part of it? Frankly, you both know so well.
I want people to know that this is such a wonderful community. There are so many wonderful people that live here. There's so much that this area has to offer. I mean, the scenery, the national parks, and it's just very concerning, and it makes me very sad that people are afraid to come here because they don't think that they'll be accepted, or they don't think that they're safe because of actions like this changing back of the names of the schools. And I just really want this area to feel welcoming and inclusive to everybody. And I would love to see some more diversity here. Yeah, I just want people to know that if they ever come visit the Shenandoah Valley, there are people here that will accept you, and not everybody is reflective of these ideas.
Well, you proved that case very well. If you represent that Shenandoah Valley, what a beautiful place it really is. Brianna, Caitlin Banner, Reverend Cozy Bailey, thank you all so much.